Listen, this stress right here, look, and with
I'm
stress
not
and
sure
wisdom.
either.
Huh?
He said, are you boy that? He boy, oh, he boy.
That what?
He bet.
Oh, he died.
That it? Right, they were this is all natural, my man. They for the earth, you know.
Sorry, sir. I didn't draw, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
I was ready, Lana. Mm.
All right, no problem. So anybody wants to go first? Anybody wants to talk specific about their experience?
If you want to volunteer, I will go first, man.
Awesome.
You want me to go?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Let me see. Yeah, that may be my
You
fault.
may have to mute your mic once
Yeah,
you're not
I'm gonna
talking.
do
You get a lot of feedback.
Right. So, well, first off, Lana, I just want to, well, Lana Henry, I should say, I just want to thank you for really setting this up. This was a great initiative on your part. Over the years, we have been in contact with, past students from Cuba, our friends, our brothers and sisters. But coming together now, and as you highlighted, it's 20 years, right? Or just over 20 years that we have known each other. We have been partners, friends for that time. And I think that each of us really have each other back, no matter where you come from, which Caribbean island you come from, which country you would have come from. If someone calls me now and say, listen, I at the airport, I need a place to stay, it's almost no question. All right, come in there. Or if you can't make it, it's call someone, say, listen, pick up my partner there from the airport and bring you across with me, So that's the kind of linkage that we had studying in Cuba. And I think that bond was especially tight because of what Cuba is or was for us when we were there. It was a strange environment, a new environment, very different to what we were accustomed to in Barbados, different culture. And we were basically a minority in Cuba, right? We were English students from the Caribbean coming to pursue careers in different areas. And I think that bond was formed from almost day one for a lot of us. And that really carried throughout Cuba and even up to now, up to 2022. But for me, in Cuba, we know the hardship that was in Cuba, right? We talk about the challenges that we had in Cuba. I mean, from something as simple, it may seem simple, but not having water 24 hours a day, right? Having to know when water coming on and having to plan your day around getting water coming from the pipe. Food was a challenge. Food was different. Food was not the same. You had to be careful what you eat, that type of thing. And of course, the main challenge, which I'm sure everyone will discuss at some point, you're studying in a different language, in a foreign language, very different. You are at college level, university level, having to assimilate all this information in the foreign language, well-made friends, living away from your family. And although Cuba is within the Caribbean, it still seemed like like a half world away because the difficulty in getting there, all that must be done to get to Cuba, to even get out of Cuba. So the difficulty to communicate with your family, social media and stuff like that wasn't, at the level that it is now. Phone calls, they may get a phone call once a week or something like that from your family was like something special. So all of that, I think, added to the challenges, but also I think added to the bond, right, that was formed amongst all the persons who would have been in Cuba, all right. So for me, that is one of the main takeaways I have from studying in Cuba is that linkage that has been formed, and I don't see it breaking anytime soon. I mean, I speak to persons from Cuba on WhatsApp almost every day, right? Sometimes more so than friends that I know since school, right? So I think that was one of the main updates for me from Cuba. All right, the next thing, obviously, you gotta look at the career, right? What we were taught in Cuba. I'm not even going to get to the foreign languages yet, but I mean, in terms of the career, I think the teaching was excellent in Cuba for the most part. And that has taken me to where I am in my professional career now, right? And why so? So why different in Cuba versus somewhere else? I think the Cuban name precedes it, right? When you tell somebody you study in Cuba, it's like, whoa, that you get that initial reaction. And that has taken me, I say, in my professional career in terms of the discipline that we had in Cuba. We know that Cuba is basically like a military country, so to speak. So there's a lot of discipline, drive, again, learning this career in a foreign language, you had to have the drive, determination, the discipline to get through it. There was no one there to baby you, so you had to, you know, pull all that resilience, so to speak, from within. Of course, you're leaning on your brothers and sisters as well for support, but really driving to get yourself through. And I think that has translated into our professional career. As you said, many of us are professionals as well. Sometimes my wife asks me, well, all your friends are professionals? I mean, whenever they got an issue, oh, I can call my doctor. You know, I know somebody who's a doctor, I know somebody who's a teacher, I know somebody who's an architect, I know somebody who's an engineer, right? So all of them came from Cuba, you know? So for me, that was another strong takeaway. And then of course the foreign language. So I mean, I've had opportunities working at UN, for example, because I have a foreign language, all right? I've had opportunities in my professional career, traveling to certain countries, being part of certain initiatives, being part of certain projects and programs because I have a foreign language. It isn't as good as Jamal's, right? But I mean, it still takes me somewhere, you know? Right? You know, so I mean, so when you look at that, so when you combine that determination, that resilience that you had to, I mean, you had to develop it. If not, you know, you'll be back in Barbados. All right, you had to be on board. You had to accept the challenges. You had to face them head on. Struggling through school, you know, working as hard as you can. Of course, there was still a lot of partying in between there as well. You know, I have many of those photos still, right? But I think that was the way to kind of, you know, ease the brain a bit, right? But then for me, again, I always go back to the linkages that were formed from being in Cuba, right? And going through those difficulties together, those challenges together, right? And really and truly, when we were in Cuba, we always want to get back home. But now we are here. When you think about what we did in Cuba, it's like, well, we need to go back. You know, we need to go back. Really and truly, it wasn't that bad, right? Or it just made us that much stronger that we can look back and say, you know what? I mean, that ain't nothing, right? That ain't nothing, man. We know the battle the buckets for months on end, right? You know, so it ain't nothing for us. So I can stop there. I don't want to talk too long. All right, so that's it for me.
That's awesome, Jamaica. That so much of what you said like struck home, like all the challenges, the water, se fue la luz,
Oh,
again,
that's
barrio,
another one,
everybody telling
exactly.
you, se fue la luz.
Yeah, exactly,
It was,
man.
you had to really, you really had to experience that to understand what we went through on a day-to-day basis for sure. But as you said,
Right.
it definitely made us stronger. I would have mentioned it in a video that I did before that I did not know that I was so strong. And granted, I know that I could not have done it if I did not have people like you, people like Jamal, people who were around me constantly all the time. I would not have been able to get through that first year, specifically in Ciego. Because for me, you know,
Yeah,
I went
that
to
first year was
Havana.
rough.
I went to
Yeah.
Havana. Havana, I had the least of the worries, I think, of the group because Havana is the capital and it would have had more of the luxuries I was used to, even though it wasn't
Right.
all the way. But at least for that first year, I was happy to know that I had that support system within the Bajan students that went with me and also the Caribbean students. Remember the first week or so we went there and we met the Jamaican guy and he was like, where y'all go? And we was like, huh? Where y'all go?
Right. Yep.
And we was like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about?
The accents, we had to get
Which
accustomed to the
Jamaican guy
accents,
is
man.
that? Was it Fitz?
Probably Fitz. I remember Fitz for true. The name Fitz sound familiar.
Yeah,
It's very
I take the fix,
possible.
you know. Yeah.
The Jamaican
Yeah.
fellow. Oh no. I can't remember what the Jamaican fellow was, but I know Fitz. I can't remember. But all
Yeah.
of those links that we were able to farm in Ciego, I think were awesome. And again, what you would have said about the fact that if anybody call you know from any of the Caribbean countries and say, Lana, I need to stay in Barbados, you can stay here. I mean, it's family you're dealing with now. So
Correct.
I would just
Yeah.
leave, I would give the floor to the next person that wanted to make a contribution, and we will go from there.
I guess I can go because I may not be able to stay on much longer. I don't even know like what format to take with this because Cuba to me is so filled with memories and some things I don't remember. I mean, and I telling you, it really shows me that so much happened between then and now. But in regards to my experience in Cuba, it's, first of all, kudos to everybody that studied in Ciego de Avila, because I know my personality. I know me, and I know that I couldn't make it in Ciego. I went to Ciego once or twice, and I was like, this ain't for me. This ain't it. This ain't it. Straight facts. This is not it. You know? And luckily for me, because I had already had the basis of the Spanish language, because I had just come out of BCC with Spanish and French for business and tourism, that associate degree. I didn't need to take that first year. So I went straight to Havana to study French in a Spanish-speaking country. And to me, that was the biggest challenge, because I mean, Jamaica, you touched on it a bit, but imagine having to learn a second foreign language in a foreign language. And Lana talked about not knowing how strong she was. I could relate, because I'm telling you, that first year I was like, what is this? What was I thinking? Like, you know, but it really taught me endurance. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta push through. Because so many moments I would be in class lost, but still the Cubans were so helpful. There was always that community of respect, especially for foreigners. And you know, they always loved us because, you know, in their minds, got pesos, got euros. They may know that we both here struggling too. They know that we both here struggling too, but we weren't struggling as much as them. But one thing about them, they always supported me in whatever endeavor I had. They were always excited to help. And so it made that journey a lot easier. Another thing that Cuba taught me was about budgeting money. So it's the first time that I'm living overseas with my parents, you know. Money was hard to come by, because when I say come by, I don't mean having it to send. It is getting it out the bank. Y'all remember having to go to the bank with your passport?
Yes.
What in the world was that?
It was a process. It was a process.
It was a process.
Yes.
And they're taking off so much learn
Yes.
percentage that they
To
can
gain that fake, the visa that you was walking, but wait, that fake money that I had to, goodness.
And then like the whole process alone was like, anyway, so that's one part. I'll get to the other part soon. But you know, just getting the money off. And then when you finally get the money, you're like, okay, so this 300 or 400 US gonna last me for the next month, 2 months. You know, my rent in Havana was like 120 US. I still can't believe that, because I'm like, in which world are you renting for 120 US? And you know, a little 1-bedroom studio apartment, and everything was so hush hush because I wasn't supposed to be renting. You know, so it's like it was, and that intrigued me. I gotta be honest. I'm like, yo, I living in this country and I live in like a queen almost. Like I paying these people under the rug, you know. But what it taught me though is that I had to budget that money still, because even though things were quote unquote cheap, it's like, okay, now you have the responsibility as a young adult to manage how you're going to spend this money. And we could have gone anywhere. We could have gone from Pinar del Rio, we could have gone Santiago, we could have gone Santo Spirito, we could have gone anywhere. But it was about, for me, it was like, how can I experience Cuba as a student, but not blow this money? And honestly, that has led me straight up to now. Call me frugal. My partner calls me frugal all the time. I don't care. The bills is get paid here, and we don't be brag, right? Because I have a very clear understanding that you may not have a whole lot of money, but you can still be comfortable living with just enough. And that's what Cuba taught me. You don't have to have a lot of money. You can still be happy. I would never forget walking through Barrio Chino, downtown Havana. Barrio Chino, Nana. Chinese restaurants lying in the streets. And I will never forget. I can't remember who I was with, but I know I was with people. I just can't remember who. Jason, maybe it was you. I don't know. But no, I genuinely remember walking through Barrio Chino, and I saw this family. There were about maybe 8 or 9 kids, all sitting around a little black and white TV. You know the old time TVs with the big fat back, right? Small little TV, yes, with the antennas and thing. And they had a tarpaulin roof, and nobody had on shoes. All of them had on like underwears, or like the little girls would have had on their underwear, little boys had on like short pants or an underwear. But they were all sitting around this one little TV, happy, happy, happy. Who wasn't watching TV was playing, and who wasn't playing a role was doing something else, but they were living happy. And I was telling myself, wow, like, you may not have money, but you have food in your belly. You have a little TV where you are able to see what is happening, whether it was local or regional or whatever the case was. But they were happy kids. One thing about Cubans, they may not have money, but they're not hungry. Cubans ain't hungry, right? And that taught me a lot. It spoke to me. I was like, wow, like, you're so privileged, and you come here and you see these people living life. Like, you could learn a lot from them. you know the process of going back to Barbados, having to go and get permission. I remember having to go in Maritza, I think that was her name, in
Yes, it was.
it was Maritza, right? Going to
Correct.
Maritza and like saying no in the office and literally begging. I remember going in the office and begging to leave, and I'm like, guys, I'm a Bajan. Do not live here like forever. I am just here for a few months or a year or whatever, but I just need to get home. And just the process taught me patience. Patience, even though I still don't have a lot. Guys, I still don't have a lot of patience. But understanding that there are processes and protocols in place, and if you do not shape up and fly right, you got to shape up and ship out. Because in Cuba, it is rules, regulations, and you need to learn to follow them, right? So many memories, so many instances where I look back at Cuba, and I haven't been back since, and it feels odd because I'm like, I want to experience Cuba as a tourist and not as a student, without all the protocols, without all the this and the that, and obviously, you're working for yourself, so you have a little bit more money in your hands, so you can actually experience. But like, Cuba was literally probably the best university years of my life. When I think back of going to the what do you call it? Somebody jump in when we went to not well, we did it in Camagüey too. Jamaican what is it?
Congress.
Congress.
Congress. Yes, boy. Listen.
Jamaica one was Congress. All the rest was Congress.
Right.
You keep hearing about people, and you in you're meeting people for the first time that you hear about, but you ain't sure, and it just felt like, this is family, I remember going on a bus from Havana all the way down to Las Tunas, 18
Correct.
hours on a bus, an 18-hour bus ride, 50-seater, no AC, no toilet. Oh my God. For Jamaican Congress. Because we don't know when we get there, gonna be music we like. And we look forward to Congress. We were like, when is Lucian Congress? When is the Bajan Congress? When is this? When is that? Man, Cuba was honestly some of the best years of my life. And having friendships that have, just kept me so friends that maybe I don't see every day. Like, I don't see Lana every day. I don't see Jamal every day. I don't see Jamaica. But I don't know now when I can't pass me in the street, though. Not you, Jason. Jason, you can't pass me in the street neither. Jason, my man, you gotta find photos to remind me.
Even though that you don't know me, I ain't gonna pass you.
And one more experience that has never left me from Cuba. The first week I moved to Havana, I remember walking on Miramar Playa. That's where I lived. I lived in calle 34 entre Tercera y Quinta. I will never forget that. I think it was 34 I was in, right? I think so, Lana. I can't remember. And I remember the first week I was there, I had on little short pants because back in the day it was, you know, the little short pants with the, and then I had on like a belly out top. Back in the day it was slim, right? It was slim then. And a policeman stopped me on the road, and I'm like, I'm confused, but I didn't really, I mean, I knew enough Spanish to get out of it, but he asked me for my ID. And I was like, I don't have an ID because I was going to his shop, which was a few avenues down the road. And he was like, you need to show me your ID. And I was like, well, I don't have any ID. Not understanding why he was asking me for my ID. At that time, I had long dreadlocks. Y'all don't know how it was. Y'all don't know how the thing was set. Long locks, brown skin, got little body. So y'all know where this was. You know where this was.
Cubanita, trabajando en la calle.
Yeah, you trabajando aquí. ID. ¿Dónde está tu pasaporte? And I'm like, I have no idea where you're asking for my passport, but I know where to find it, so you can follow me to my apartment. And I went to my apartment and I got my passport and I showed him. He said, you're Cuban. I said, I'm not Cuban. This is before he showed me passport, right? Because he didn't believe I was Beijing. And he was like, show me your ID. I showed him our little, first of all, I showed him the laminate, which 20 years later, we're now thinking of, you know, phasing that out. And he looked at it and he was like, this is not you. And I'm like, absolutely, it is me. And then I took out my passport and showed him I'm a Beijing. And he was like, wow, I thought you were a Cuban, because he thought I was a prostitute. He thought that because I had these little short pants, I had a little brown skin, got a little body, walking on the street, that I was a prostitute. And that floored me, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yo, but in Barbados, we got ladies of the night dressing a certain way at night. And this man is approaching me in broad daylight. And I'm like, wow, what a thing. And just my whole time in Cuba was me, in my mind, may not have said it vocally, but in my mind, it was always partly there. It was like, I hope a policeman will stop me here and ask me a question, because, you know, it's one thing to be revered for something, but that's not something that I wanted to associate with, right? But that was part of the Cuban experience. It's like, yo, you part of this here. This how the people them is think, right? Even something as simple as getting cigars. Like, you gotta get cigars from, you know, well-placed sources. You can't just go and just buy cigars. Like, you know, I remember buying cigars, and my landlord, when he came home and showed us, say, mira, look, estoy, and I show him, look, this way come. He must say, them ain't real. I was like, what are you talking about? Real? He must said, they're not real. He took me on his motorcycle and took me through a back road in some, I don't know what to call it. It was dark and I was scared, because he was like, those are not real. You need to get back your money, or you need to get real cigars. And he was like, there were Cohibas and the other ones. I can't remember the other ones. Whatever. And he got off the bike and he said, show me the apartment that you bought these from. And I just kind of pointed, because I didn't want to get, you know, obviously we in Cuba, I could disappear and nobody want to know. And he went and he spoke to the gentleman there and he got back my money. I mean, little things like that stand out to me as, you know, like, that was close. It was risky. You know, you buying under the table cigars. These guys know what are fake from what is not fake. You know, yo, Cuba was honestly a journey, a real experience. I don't want to take up too much more time, but that was my experience. And if there's anybody out there who's interested, somebody's calling me. If there's anybody out there who's interested in learning a language and learning an experience of a lifetime and building your character as a person, it's going to serve you well. It's going to serve you well. You're going to meet people who value you. They value you. When a Cuban takes to you, they take to you. They can meet you the first time and invite you to their house the same night, right? You don't have that in Barbados. You got people that say, well, I know who is this here now that they're bringing in at me? Who is this body here? When the body here tell me that this body here come in, not in Cuba, ain't like that. They value, if you suffer with abandonment issues, you don't have that in Cuba, because everybody looks out for everybody, right? Running for the pay uno. All right, I can let Jamal and them there
Yeah,
talk.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can let them
Okay,
Lana, who get about that cigar money for you? That was Fräulein?
Not Fräulein. You remember Fräulein?
Boy, loud boy.
Lord. No, it was my landlord's son, Fernando. I can't remember his name. No, gosh, I can't remember his name at all. Francisco. I think that was his name. Anyway, wow, bathing out her buckets, waiting on hot water. The little, I mean, to be honest, I was privileged in Havana. I didn't really suffer the way that people suffered in Camagüey and all them other places, right? But it was still a journey, you know.
Now I catching the bus and go ask, ¿Quién es la última? ¿Quién es la última
¿Quién es la última
persona?
persona?
Atrás quién va. Yep.
I done. Anyway, it was great. Oh,
That's
I can't wait to
wonderful,
hear
Anna.
everybody else's experience. Oh my gosh.
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
you're all really hitting on some things. I really appreciate what you said as well about the genuineness of the Cuban people, because I still got a chat right now with a bunch of Cuban students that I went to school with in the University of Havana Facultad de Psicología. We still talk on a regular basis, and it's something that you really got to experience. I went to them people's house. I went and eat egg and rice with them because they had a meat in the house. I went and sleep in a little bed with chickens running across the road. Remember the woman that used to wash my clothes in Ciego that we went to her house?
Margarita?
I think it was Margarita that had a thatch roof, a dirt floor.
Right, on the dirt floor.
It was her. It was her mother, and her daughter.
Her mother, right?
Walking
Yeah, two daughters, the husband, right? And the grandma's to kiss you when you come and visit, and what she hears sticking.
Kisses. Because they genuinely like you, and then it's the same people. I remember at times they leave money in your clothes, and they would give you back the money. They would not keep it. They would say, "Lana, you left this in your clothes." And these are people who wanted, who needed, and still were so genuine and so helpful. It's definitely something that stays on my mind constantly. But yes, we can move on. Who wants to give the next contribution?
I want to do it.
Yes.
Go, girl. Let me hear about your experience. Let me hear about it.
Well, my experience is kind of different because I did prep in 2000, and our group from Dominica was supposed to have been 80, and we were about 40 Dominicans, and then the prep was just large, and we were the second group in prep in Ciego, and it was just crazy. And I believe what that just kept everybody, it's like first day you reach, you check in what was going to happen, and then you just had to make a whole heap of friends and friends and friends and friends.
Yeah. Yep.
It was just an awesome experience, and then I had the background in Spanish because I did it in secondary school in Dominica, and then the whole careers went well because we had each other support, because there was so many of us from Dominica. My class was Dominicans up to this day. So I migrated to St. Vincent. My roommates and my friends, I just come out on the phone with one of my girls, and then we always keep close. We keep in tabs with everybody and with everything that's going on around the world, Even when we had graduated and go back to Dominica, when one gets a job, because so many of us did accounting. I think I had counted like 9 of us. Imagine 9 of us graduating in the same degree. Go home, who get a job first, referring the order to like another vacancy. And we have just kept on staying so tight. And for me, Cuba, it was like about managing money, because my experience was I went on a government scholarship, supposed to be getting stipend. They stopped giving us stipend because Dominica had economic crisis. And budgeting, discipline with everything. And it was just an awesome experience. Being mature, being responsible, you can't go and spend off all your money. Because I remember when I was in prep, there was a Vincentian. The boy spent all his money for Christmas just to buy a set to make music and stay broke in Cuba all the months. Yeah, it was just an awesome experience, and I can never forget Cuba, because now I'm living in another country. I'm like, oh my, there are nobody better than Cubans. I wish I still have Cubans as my neighbors. Yeah. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, for me, Yes, I miss Cubans. When I meet Cubans, yeah, my dentist is actually a Cuban. Oh, it's a joy when I enter his office just to meet somebody who can speak Spanish. Oh, it's always a joyous occasion to enter my dentist's office. And me personally, when I have two sisters who studied in Cuba after me, one is a doctor, one is a dentist. I'm married to a Cuban grad, Vincentian, that's why I migrated here. It's a good experience for me. I can never forget Cuba. Cuba made me who I am today. I just have total gratitude for the revolution. I always say thank God for Fidel Castro. It is just an experience. And I mean, a lot of people in Dominica, they used to say, don't go and study Cuba. When people go and study Cuba, they just come like they're looking like they have a disease and all kind of stigma and stigma and stigma. And I have no regrets because look at that. Some people go and study in the other countries and the kind of heavy student loans they're having to pay. I mean, because I'm an accountant. So sometimes when I do in payroll in business place, a person like your student loan monthly is like the equivalent of 400 US to deduct on a salary. How do they see their way in life? And these are the same people I was saying I could never go Cuba and study. Some of them still telling me that in my face. So I don't know how you make it. I say it's all right. Yeah, I can never forget Cuba because even with the background in Spanish, I love the language. I never had a challenge learning it. And it's throughout my working life, it has fit in because I've done business plans where I would have done translations, and with one of my workplaces, it saved them a lot of money. And it's just rewarding. I remember once I was at a meeting with one of my workplaces, and people from the Alba Bank came across here in St. Vincent, and everybody fighting. Oh, we didn't realize we need a translator. And the man trying to tell them something. And like when I come and repeat what the man just said, everybody like, oh my, that was like a miracle. They cannot believe I understand Spanish and understand what the man's saying. Like everybody, they're like, oh, a whole blockage. Yeah, it was a rewarding experience, and I would have gone Cuba on vacation but COVID is the problem because they have cheap flights directly from here. A lot of Cubans on mission here and they having flights. 2000 EC, let me see how much US that would be.
So
Not
there's a
much.
direct flight. There's a direct flight, Josette, from St.
They
Vincent.
having charters and they having space on the flights from here to Santiago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with a Vincentian airline. But I don't know for now, but some time ago I got the opportunity, but the COVID was really heavy at the time. That was at the end of 2020. It's a rewarding experience. I have no regrets. I'm just content. Yeah, I was encouraged by my father because he was involved in trade unionism, and it feels good because my younger sisters went one, and the younger one might go back to specialize as soon as possible. Yeah, it's good. And when I go all over the place and I tell people I study Cuba, I even had a job interview last year and I was asked why Cuba, and some people were still thinking they want to have a stigma. And in Dominica, there used to be a stigma before. Earlier, Cuban grads, they were not allowed to work in the country, but that stigma was broken just before I went up. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I always said that before going to Cuba, I got a lot of, because we had to talk to other past students and parents of past students and that type of thing before we went.
Yeah.
And you heard things like the country poor and all these horrible things. You can't find nothing you want. Your life as you know it gonna be different. It was a lot of negativity. But when I got there and I see Jose Marti airport, I was like, huh? Well, this thing bigger than Barbados. And that be the things that you can stand upon and then be moving. You ain't had to walk. I remember. So I thinking to myself, how it is that all of this happened. And when we even went to Ciego, yes, Ciego was not this big, massive, but it still had had a pool. I remember having pool parties outside that pool, Jamaica. We had little pool
Listen,
parties.
I have a photo of Josette climbing out to the pool when we had a pool party. Yes, believe it or
That was
not.
you.
Because we used to go in that pool. The
I
water
never
used to
went in the
last.
pool. I never went
It
in the
used to be
pool.
slimy. It used to get slimy very, very quick, right? Right?
I met that priest not enough things.
Oh my goodness. I
Pardon?
They're
never went
gonna,
in.
they're gonna
But
get
anyhow,
that pool
we
before the
had
Cubans
sex.
get in it.
Before you get. Yeah, man. So I used to land at the airport. I remember I was expecting a little shade or something
little
that we could land. That was MRT, massive thing, man. Right. So it was like, whoa, you know?
So it was definitely for me a pleasant surprise to go there and
Yeah.
see that things were not at least not as bad as we expected. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I still ain't eat nothing from the Commodore in Ciego de Avila, not
You
one.
see it, well.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
at least it was an option. People had the option of going
Right.
there. I mean, I remember we were in
And that
town
saved
and we
many
used to eat.
many a person.
Exactly. We were in town and we used to eat for cheap and enjoy ourselves and walk about the town and catch hitchhike to town and hitchhike back and very ignorant we used to do. And it was to me all part of that experience that makes it something that I will never, ever forget.
Can I just ask a question before you go on to the next person? Does anybody remember those random people along the highway in between provinces that used to sell cheese?
Cheese,
Yes,
the
of
cheese,
course.
people.
Please,
The cheese
Guava
people.
cheese.
those people live. Where do they live?
And all you can see is bush on each side of the road. You don't know? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I better hit the carrot county bush with the cheese, man. Guava cheese.
It's just cheese.
For the so he starts to sell to later and no more. I was
Yeah.
completely honest already. So love
Boy.
them, man. Don't
Damn.
talk Rasamar. Don't talk Rasamar. Fish.
My goodness. Okay, so next
Yeah, boy.
person who wants to share again. Go, Clarky. Let's hear
All
you.
right, guys. Awesome. So it's hard not to repeat a lot of things that were said. So I can tackle this from a different angle. So I want to say that Cuba is a place where you find yourself, and that's what I did. I found myself. I thought I knew myself before I went. I thought I knew who I was and what I stood for. But actually, when you are put in a situation with people you've never met before, different cultures, races, ethnicities, and you really see how different people and the concepts of people have about life, right? It really challenges what you know for yourself. So there was a lot of clashing. Anyone that studied in Ciego would know there were a lot of clashing over different cultural expectations that we had for other people and other people had of us. So you have people from all different parts of the world, Africa, the Caribbean, different parts of Asia, and you really learn patience, you really learn understanding. The idea you have to understand where a person is coming from, because it might seem crazy to you things that they were doing and you think how they were behaving and that sort of stuff. Like I remember a time there was this guy called Kenny, an African guy. And when we first got there, Caribbean people are generally or were generally homophobic. So we were sitting down having a laugh and we saw these two guys walking through the park holding hands. And everyone was like, what going on here? You understand? So he asked his man, what going on, brother? And the man was like, what's the problem? The man was like, no, we from Africa. This is what we do in Africa. We live like brothers, we live that sort of way and that sort of things. I mean, afterwards, we felt different, but that was the idea that you have to open your mind and think before you react or act, right? Another great thing I learned about Cuba is the idea that Cubans have that it can be done. No matter what, it could be done. There's always a way to get it done. And in my career, I did mechanical engineering, and in my job, there were many times where everyone should hand in the air and say, this cannot be done. And I said, nah, man, this could be done. That mentality of knowing that there's always a way to get things done. And then when you get it done, people will be like, oh, you get that, dude? That's impossible. It ain't impossible. You got to find a way to do it. Another thing I want to add about Cuba is you learn so many life lessons about Cuba. Who to trust, who not to trust, and you learn the hard way. You met some decisions and you think at that point in time that that's the best decision, and then you find out that later on, nah, that wasn't the right decision. And people would smile in your face and people would befriend you And funny enough, the most challenges I've had in Cuba were not with Cubans. They were people from the Caribbean, right? And it was strange that these strangers that don't even speak your language are more trustworthy than people that speak the same language that you speak, or from the same area that you're from, or the same region in the world that you're from. Not saying that they're all like that, but I've had some experiences that really made me sit back and look at life, right? And funny enough as well, I gained a serious love for my country in Cuba. See this thing, Patria or Malta, live this life that we living is one that we don't take serious until we understand how other people live. And imagine living in a country where people living really hard, right? And sometimes they don't know the next meal, or sometimes they know the next meal, but the next meal is the same meal they have to pass how much ever days and the territory. But I don't think I've been to another country that the people are more patriotic than the ones in Cuba. And people believe in Cuba. And you hear all these things in the news about how Cubans always want to leave Cuba and go to the States and live in all these other places. But when you really get there, you realize that that necessarily ain't true. So just like Jamaica said earlier, having a second language has afforded me the opportunity to go a lot of places that I necessarily might not have been to in Latin America, in Central America, in South America. And I realized that it's not only a Cuban thing, it's a Latin American thing. The way how they look at life is a lot different, you know. No matter how hard life is, when it's weekend, it's time to relax. Work hard, play harder. Do whatever you gotta do, but make sure that when you done play hard, that you can get it next morning and be put in the job and be professional. And then when it get dark again and work done and everything finished, we can meet by the bar. And that's something that I have not only carried out through my life, but all the people that work with me or for me, we got that same mentality. As long as we get a job done, I can support you there. Then we're going to get some drinks here. If we got to curse you 2 bad words, don't take it personal. It's part of the job, but you can drink 2 drinks here and be good. And that's something that has gone through my whole life. And the last thing I want to add, because I don't want to steal the time as well, is this idea, and Jamaica and Lana mentioned it as well. When there was so much ideas that people had about Cuba, and I had never been to Cuba. Oh, the place popped down, and that is slang down, popped down and thing. And as I said, when he got to Havana and he saw, the first thing I saw was a 7 Series BMW. See there? And he saw the size of the airport, how big the airport is, all the different terminals that the airport has, right? My university was in Santiago on the other end, so it was like 18 to 20 hours away by bus or by train. Sometimes even 24 if you had an experience in Jamaica. I spent 24 hours by train. Even when he come out of Barbados, I've had some interviews. I had an interview recently, and the guy there were 3 people interviewing me: head of HR, head of engineering, and one of the engineers. And we were having this discussion, and the guy said, "So you studied in Cuba?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, you know, Cuba this and Cuba that. I was like, "Okay." I was listening. He was listening. So when he was finished, he said, "So you've been to Cuba?" "No, but you know what to say." Oh, okay, that's what he said. Yeah, but then when he was saying, the guy that was working under him knew me. We've run many projects together, and he knew how qualified I was and how much experience I had. And one of the reasons I did not get a job, because I was more qualified than the person that I was actually going to work for. But really and truly, there was this stigma, and there are provinces in Cuba that are about 20 times bigger than Barbados. I don't understand how you can think that a country is so much bigger than Barbados, but yet so behind in engineering and in medicine and certain things. When Cuba is a leader in medicine in the world, when Cuba is a leader in engineering in the world, I did my thesis at a power plant, a small power plant that powered 4 times the population of Barbados. 4 times the population of Barbados. And that was an experience for me. So I come back home with all this information in my head and this idea that there's always a way. I have been extremely successful. And because of that, not because I was a big brain, not because I better anybody, but my mentality is a lot different from the experiences that have molded me being in Cuba. And I would encourage anybody Not only Cuba, if you have an opportunity to study outside of Barbados, outside of your region, go. Don't waste any time. Don't think twice about it, because you're gonna really learn life. You're gonna learn yourself, and you can become a much better person for it. That's it for me.
Good point.
That's really awesome, Jason, honestly, because it is definitely a place to find yourself, and I guess that's what Lana was talking about and what I was talking about, because you don't know what you're capable of accomplishing until you get put in the position where you have to go so much outside of your comfort zone. And Cuba is definitely what that was for me, and from what you guys are saying, for a lot of you as well. You had to get out of your comfort zone, do things that would have been otherwise outside of what would have been the norm, to really see to where you could go. And like yourself, I had the opportunity to travel as well a lot through my job. Went to Mexico, Colombia. It even gave me the opportunity to go to Canada. Of course, that was not based on the language, but because of the ability to speak the language, I was able to acquire positions within my job right now that I would not have been able to do so before. Okay, so perfect. Who's the next person that wants to take the floor so that we don't go too long?
All right, guys. You go and mute your microphone.
I think Lana is gonna have to turn down her volume.
Well, it's real hard to follow all of these contributions.
Lies.
You know, because one usually feels a desire to say something that has not been said, and I guess, you know, you'll be able to, everybody will be able to appreciate why that would be so difficult at this time. So I what I would do is start by lending my voice to all of what I have heard so far, because I agree wholeheartedly. It is interesting, is indeed interesting and intriguing when you think that all of our experiences were so unique. You know, they were individual, and yet at the same time, there were so many overlapping areas. There were so many similarities between what we experienced, not just because, you know, we were in the same country, but a lot of the things that we dealt with were assimilated, or we assimilated them in a similar manner, maybe because of the similarities in our background, our place of origin, our upbringing, etc. What I want to say is that I had a ball in Cuba. That's the truth. I had a blast. I had a really good time. I have always been a positive person, and that's not to say that it didn't have its share of difficulties, right? But I thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I was fascinated at every turn. I You all would know I was a very outgoing person. I love the going out. I love getting to know people. I love encountering new things. I did things there, of course, that may have possibly been out of my reach at home, or not only for financial reasons, but possibly for other for reasons of availability. Um, I believe that it really helped me to become a much more resourceful person. Yeah. I think the way Jason said it, where one realizes that anything can be done. You if something needs to be done, you can get it done. It's just a matter of finding a way to get it done. And Cuba definitely drilled that idea home, drilled it into my head. Anything that needs to be done can get done. Some of my favorite experiences, I know there are too many to count. I remember I had a pet iguana. That was that was one of the highlights of my time. It was my iguana. I was extremely disappointed at the end of prep when I had to leave him behind, and nobody wanted to adopt my iguana.
The
Jamal, you had
reason
a
is
whole food,
because
man.
That was
nobody
You had
very
a whole
upsetting for
food.
me.
understand that an iguana, guys,
I
an
get why
iguana
did you
is
got
a
my
baby
volume?
dragon. So no, it's a no.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I remember my iguana quite fondly. I've always been an animal lover, you know. So I had cats, I had birds, I had fish. All right. Oh yeah, I remember.
Turtle.
I remember oh, I was fascinated at Cuba's wildlife, right? And even though I work part-time as a tour guide, right? And one of the things that almost always comes up with guests is wildlife. And wildlife in Barbados is notably limited as compared to many of our Caribbean neighbors. You go to places like Trinidad, St. Lucia, Dominica, especially, you know, a lot of the other islands have an array of species of wildlife that you don't really find locally. So, and I've always been an animal lover, so I was fascinated at Cuba's wildlife. I remember a time I went, when we realized that there were owls in Cuba, and we went owl hunting. And
Yes, I remember that day, Jamal. I tell that story up to this day.
we went owl hunting when we discovered the location of a nest of owls with her chicks. Who would have known that owls don't take kindly to strangers approaching their nests? The mother got very visibly upset. I was ready to attack me. I remember standing in the I think like a courtyard area outside prep dorms, and a lizard that up to today I struggle to identify actually fell out the trees, and one of the Vinci fellas take it up. It was a very strange looking lizard. I would compare it to a chameleon. Anyway, but I digress. But the experiences were numerous, and I definitely had a good time from start to finish, from beginning to end. I mean, the time there, you know, I do 7 years, 6, 7 years, and it had its challenges. Of course, one would not expect to spend that kind of time in a foreign land and not have your fair share of hurdles. But the good definitely outweigh the bad. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember bad experiences per se. Anything that could be construed as negative for me became a lesson, you know. So it's not even remembered as a negative or as something bad. It was just a lesson to learn, a hurdle to conquer, and something that really made you stronger, right? I was always fascinated with Cuban ingenuity. It was amazing. It was out of this world, bordering on dangerous. I saw a vehicle powered by a gas bottle.
Yeah.
I saw a vehicle powered by a gas bottle. I saw a vehicle with a gas bottle, like the one that we just cook with, you know, that we connect to our stove, and right. One of those was fastened to the roof. There was a hose running from the bottle into the engine, and the vehicle was driving on the road, and that's where the gas was coming from. It was coming from that bottle. The bottle was acting as a tank. That was scary, but it was impressive. It was impressive. And then even simpler machines, even the knife sharpening man that used to sharpen your knife for 1 peso with his bicycle, right? So again, ingenuity was truly amazing. It was intriguing. It was fascinating. So this is a guy that would ride around the neighborhood, and he would have a horn, and that horn would be his signature sound, so that people would know that he was near. And once he required his services, he would come outside. He would put down his bicycle kickstand, and he had built into his bicycle a mechanism by which he could sharpen your knives by pedaling. Understand? So his mode of transportation was also his main instrument of earning, of employment, right? And not only being used as a mode of transportation, right? And we could probably recall, mention 1,000 examples of things like that. But it has definitely contributed greatly to who I am today. It's something that I remember extremely fondly. Like Lana, I am very interested in returning. I too have not returned since leaving Cuba, and I've always had a nagging desire to go back as a visitor, and to look up some of those old friends. Yeah, look at some of that Cuban family. As was mentioned here, we were welcomed into multiple homes and treated like family by people that hardly knew us. Yeah, um, people that were genuinely kind-hearted. We currently have the Henry Reeves Brigade working in Barbados, as a part of the government's COVID relief program. I'm not sure, Josette, if they're there by you, and you're in St. Vincent, right?
I'm in St. Vincent, but I don't really know Cubans dealing with COVID. St. Vincent only has one active case at the moment. Dominica is the one that have a lot of Cubans on mission
Okay.
full time. They go
Okay,
in
we
and
have okay. We have some here. Now the ones here have been here for a little over 2 years now. It is not a
Dominica.
it's not a full-time mission, at least not yet. There's talk going on currently about making it a full-time mission, but it was actually initiated as a response to COVID. The brigade of 100 nurses arrived here, and fortunately, beginning through one of our own Cuba graduated doctors, Dr. Niasha Brown, I was invited to work with that program, and that has blossomed into so many other things. I would have started as I would have started, sorry, as an interpreter for the group when they would have gone to our isolation center, Harrison's Point. So one of my first interactions would have been serving as their interpreter between the Cuban Brigade and Barbadian doctors, or CMO, Chief Medical Officer, and some others. That eventually led to my working with the clinical decision unit, which was set up by the government again as part of the COVID response in Bridgetown, the Gemets Lane area. That eventually led to my working personally with the doctor in charge of the group, doing everything from rendering English lessons to some of the brigade, to helping them with other tasks in Barbados. But what I want to say about it is that I have always felt, and a lot of them say to me, "Oh, you've been very helpful to us, and I really appreciate your presence here." And it gives us a sense of a feeling of home, and a bridge to navigate things in a culture that's different from our own. And I always say to them that I appreciate the opportunity to make Cubans feel here in Barbados how they made me feel when I was by them, right? So to extend that same feeling of welcome, to extend that same feeling of gratitude, of helpfulness, it really gives me pride to be able to, in a sense, return the favor. Although I don't think that there's really anything. What I do here is really a small in comparison to what a lot of Cubans would have done and dealt with, at least for me personally, and for other Caribbean people that I saw in while I was there. Not only though was the relationship forged with Cubans memorable and of caused a great impression, but another thing that I find is that it created a sense of community among Caribbean neighbors, because while we may be more similar in culture, Bajans with Vincies and Trinis and Lucians and Dominicans, than we were in culture with Cubans, the fact remains that before going to Cuba, I did not really have very much interaction with my Caribbean brothers and sisters, right? So, the occasional trip here and there, which were few and far between, and then obviously meeting some people here as well. But the sense of community between the English-speaking Caribbean persons, in my opinion, was also strengthened, right? That sense of brotherhood between us and other English-speaking Caribbean persons who we deem to be closer in culture to ourselves was also a given strength in Cuba. The exposure, to youngsters from all over the world was something that still today has a great impression on me. I like to say I got brethren now from all throughout the continent of Africa, from all 54 countries. I met people from countries that I had never heard of before I went to Cuba. Right? I was studying. I had men on my block from Laos, and I was like, Laos. I had brethren on my block from Lesotho. You know, I had never heard of those. I had to go to an atlas. I had to go to a computer and look up them countries. I asked me what part that is. And that those are things and experiences that I would forever be grateful for. Most definitely. And again, I'm very thankful, and it has all been a huge part of my formation today. That's it for me. Thanks, guys.
And I just say, Jamal, that out of everybody that I know of in Cuba or that studied in Cuba, to me, you were the most brave.
Crazy.
Like,
Oh, sorry.
I don't even think crazy is the word. I mean, it's beyond crazy.
I get that. I get that.
No,
I get that.
honestly, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, Jamal was about everything.
Everything.
Like, you wanted to know everything. You wanted to experience everything. I think you embraced
from
the
the
Cuban way quickly, and everything you did was just like, I bought this here, this way boat. So it's either you with me or you with me, but this way boat.
I remember in like the first month, I remember going into Ciudad Ciudad, right, in town, going to Pollo Dito with a big crowd. And this is the first month, you know. I already speak in Spanish, and I was the only extranjero in the crowd, the only foreigner in the crowd. Was beer Cubans. Beer Cubans, right? I was the only extranjero in the crowd. I remember my landlords, and multiple, because we would have lived at a couple of places, but none of them more intensely than Maria Elena in 34 used to warn me about my jewelry, right? Used to warn me about my jewelry every day, without fail, every day, because I had these 2 gold rings, and this gold chain, and this woman used to warn me intensely about this jewelry with a fear in her face. A fear, you know, a literal fear in her face. You are not in Barbados. Tú no estás en Barbados. Tú no puedes eso aquí. You can't wear those things here. You're not home. I mean, this woman had a fear in her face every time I left home, right? And I had this thing, man. I might have been naive at the start, right? Because I used to think, and times have changed, because what I used to say back then don't even apply no more. I used to say, man, no boy ain't gonna rob you of this goal ain't enough, right, to be worth it to nobody to rob you in Barbados. You understand? And I guess because of that thinking, and you know, these days not even so no more, because don't know people robbing for all kinds of things. But back then, she was like, no, that ain't true. That might be the case in Barbados, but that ain't the case here, right? And you know, I don't know if you all remember this. I don't know, it might be slow, because it didn't dawn on me until after it happened. This was me. I do. Anyway, but somebody tried to snatch my chain off a bus, and he didn't get it. You remember that?
I can't remember.
Somebody tried to snatch my chain off a bus. The bus was super packed, as the bus usually is, right?
Almost. This in Havana?
So in Havana, super packed. Bus was super packed, full. Like how the bus always be super packed and full. And when it get to the bus stop, right? I was close to the door. I wasn't right in the door, but I think I remember this. Door, right? And I felt a hand, just sort of, right? I just sweep off of the back of my neck, and the person get off. Because the person, like, in one motion, is stepping off the bus, right? Grab and stepping off the bus. I guess because the idea was to grab it and get off. In which case, either A, the bus would have gone along, and I would have been on it, can't get to them, or I would have had to maneuver too much people, giving them enough time to get away. But the person did not grip it or grasp it. You understand? And I honestly, for like the next 3 bus stops, thought that just somebody that just brushed me by mistake. Yeah.
I Okay.
then I realized, you know something? I want to start talking with you. Right?
I feel like that sounds vaguely familiar.
You will remember the time when the man threw the beer at me. When we were in the bus speaking English. I know you was there that time. We were in the bus speaking English, right? And a man say something extranjero and start making foolish sport, right? I know you that I know for sure. I know
I can't remember. Let me
right?
hear.
And the man start making some sport, because you can't speak English, so he was doing that thing where you simulate English with foolishness, right? I asked him, how are you? Get the pasa. And the man, he had a beer in a cup. And the man, he beer at me. Yeah, but
And what we do?
because there were so many people in the bus, real people get wet. I get the beer. Real people get wet with beer. Be the half drunk anyhow.
Oh
Anyway,
my
yeah.
God.
But yeah, some real good times and some real fun times, and I have a love for Cuba. I have a love for Cuba. Everybody knows I have a deep, deeply seated, deep rooted love for Fidel Castro and the Revolution. Everybody that knows me knows that my WhatsApp profile pic cycles through Fidel and Che photos.
Check it out.
Understand? Nothing else. You understand? My new principal, that's called me the Revolucionario. Because our school's internet portal, our school's email portal, you're required to put a picture. My picture is an embrace between Fidel and Nelson Mandela, right? And when she came on, when she held our first meeting with us, which obviously would have been online because we were not in face-to-face school when she came on, when she took up the mandate. So I guess she was cycling through the photos and seeing the faces of all the teachers. So that got her attention. She wanted to know who's this person, whose photo is Fidel and Nelson Mandela. So she's called me the Revolucionario. But yeah,
That's a little information though.
a deep-seated, a deep-rooted love for the country, for the process, and it's taught me to love my country as well. It's taught me to love my country. I see so many things in the way Cubans are taught about their history that I wish we could emulate. You know what I mean? I love that. You drive through. I mean, I've been through Miami, and you drive through the city and see big signs marked Coca-Cola and huge signs marked Nike, right? You drive to Cuba and see big billboards with scenes in the revolution, right? You can't don't know. You know, you can't not know. Even if you're uninterested, you can't not know because it's just there in front of your face all the time, right?
Were you in Havana at the time when they had the march or the protests? I have pictures of it. Somebody had to be in Havana at this time. And I actually went to the protests, and I have they were talking about fascism.
Fascism.
Fascism. I hope this isn't recording. Anyway, let's edit that part there. But y'all had to be there, but it was just beautiful to see people coming out and just representing their country. And I remember going there in my Barbados flag.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like I had my flag as a tube top, almost like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they believe.
Yeah, the belly.
I was fortunate enough when I first went to Santiago. My first night at my new university, Fidel Castro actually came to Santiago and he had a speech, and that was the time when they had the tension between U.S. and Cuba, and the president was Bush, and I was sitting on my bed listening to it because they couldn't even get close to the monument because there were thousands and thousands of people there. But luckily for me, my room was on the top floor, so you could look through. And I remember one of the things he said that made me laugh, and to this day I still laugh. You say that that when Bush is going to be in his office pressing buttons, nuclear buttons, he can be put in front line with his machete and his rifle, right? And I found that so hilarious, but I knew it was so true, right? Because that's the mentality. We ain't sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do nothing. We can get up and we can do it. Yeah, the revolution is, if you understand or you study the revolution and all the different intricate parts and the people that played very vital roles in it, you'll see how I don't think there are many stories in history that could compare to that.
It's very true.
Yes,
For
very true,
sure,
very
for
true.
sure, for sure. I don't know if Jamaica, you want to say something, sir?
See the sniper in the room,
Um,
the sniper in the room, the Raymond in the room, the
is
sniper.
that, oh, Raymond wants to say something.
Raymond,
I
please
never.
join the
Hi.
discussion.
Sorry. Right. So, I experiencing some of the joy of meeting new people. So right now, I currently in St. Lucia.
King Ray.
So when you be able to travel and pull up at somebody's house, and you don't have to pay hotel bills and things anymore. Like, you've been afforded that pleasure to meet people from all over the place. So, I guess best my best thing about Cuba is that I was never really slated to accomplish much in life. I was a racist fellow at school. I was a very delinquent fellow. Community college had very spiritual, so nobody don't looking for me to accomplish much at school. So, not everybody when they hear me, oh, what are you doing? You know, they expect me to be okay. When I tell them, well, I'm in there. Yeah, like, yeah, well, yeah. We know that. You study. Study. So, you can speak Spanish, like, among other things. I'd be like,
Mhm.
you know that dumbfounded look that is your kind of face. Like, that didn't turn out how you wanted it to turn out. Like, hey, I guess Cuba, yeah, it gave me a lot of opportunity. It made me into, because I was, like I said, I was a clone. I was a class clone. Um, but I can progress through Cuba. I guess I had to change my rule, and then everybody was like coming, yeah, Raymond, if you want anything, get a Raymond. If you want anything, get a Raymond. And then all of a sudden, I became from, like, instead of being class clown and stuff, I became the person I go to guys. Um, and it really hit my character somewhat to prepare me to be who I had to be in life, I guess. Um, and like everybody else, it was an interesting experience, right? Because the day I was leaving for the airport, everybody used to tell my mother, "Oh man, well, Cuba is thinking you can go down there, you can go pick cotton and cut tin and all sorts of nonsense." Um,
Uh,
up to the day I at the airport, my mother was like, "Cause you ain't no there about." I don't know about everybody else, but I ain't no there at 15 by literally. They buy into the box. um, and my mother holler, "You can start home, you can start home. Don't mind. You can't get it spoiled, But you can put the back in the cupboard. You can put the back in the cupboard. You're not get over it. And I catch you man now, man. Again. Yeah, but she would give me that. I don't really fear for my. I remember my mother when I came back. Not only was it drastic, the change, but I had it probably worse than everybody else. But my mother was like, "Where is the rest of you?" And then probably back in the toilet. Um, ah, but
yeah, boy.
yeah, my
Raymond, you see
mother
pictures of
was
me, I
like,
had looked half there. It was a skeleton. It's horrible.
"Oh yeah." Like my mother, my friends never had gone there and caught something or remedies. And I never was getting they could see collarbone. It was like, yeah. So although I would like to get back to those schools, not disasters, but around third year, yeah, that third year was probably good safe. But
Okay.
yeah, like a dear, I was so accustomed to like not having stuff. I did the the water was going, and my instinct was just instinctively to just go up, pick up the bucket, and get to the lower floor and just pull the bucket without even thinking. And my mother looking at me so like shocked, like, this is not my child. Who are you? Where did you come from? You know? But I was like, just, I have to pick up these things, like, you don't complain when the water go off, you don't complain when the electricity go off. Basically, he wasn't a complainer. And then I realized that a lot of people in Barbados complain a whole lot. I was like, really? Seriously? I have not really experienced anything yet. I know. And like just I tell a lot of young people because they feel young people off. I'm gonna get the opportunity to go and study, especially Norway and younger. Like just get out there and get an experience of life beyond Barbados. Because a lot of people got passports and never use it yet. Never experienced life, never experienced nothing outside of Barbados. And their imagination and their thinking is limited just to Barbados. So when you like see them, they'll be like, and be like, you can do better, but you just don't want to do better. So yeah, I guess, and people be like amazed, like when I tell them studying people, how you survive Cuba? Like any other, I'm there. One day at a time,
yeah.
and party hard, party real hard. It was all a big blur after a party.
Yeah.
Still got a little PTSD somewhere.
But yeah, that was different. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I want to add something here quick, Lana. Some stories that you
No
guys
problem at
shared.
all.
Yeah.
Jamal, you taking notes. You reading
Yeah, I
notes.
got notes here, man. As a businessman, you know, I got a whole set of notes. Listen, 2014, right? I went to Mexico. I had to go to Mexico to do for 3 weeks to do a course. But because I studied in Cuba, I did my research, right? And you know what was in my bag when I went to Mexico? I carried toilet paper. I go pretty straight. I got a roll of toilet paper with me. I got biscuits, my biscuits. I got a spoon. I got a knife, and I got a whole thing of peanut butter. Right? Jar of peanut butter. Right? And well, I realized then that Mexico was kind of cold because the elevation pretty high, 7,000 feet.
Mexico is cool, yeah.
Right? So I know I had to carry my jacket. I did a course with 20 other persons for the Caribbean. Right? One other person on that course studied in Cuba. He also studied veterinary medicine in Cameroon. We were the only persons, right, who came equipped to survive Mexico for those 3 weeks. Right? As the land, they went drinking the water. I tell them, do not drink the water. They went drinking the water. Get there, nobody can go class. Right? Whole place later. Right? Got a toilet paper. The guy I get the food, they ain't want the food, they ain't accustomed with that. I said, but listen, but I got my biscuits and my peanut butter here. You go where you land and you know what, and I got everything we buy. Everywhere I go, I got all my items there set off, right? So that again, that's something that Cuba teach you, right? You got to be prepared, right? Always, right? The other persons they had that training at all. Besides myself and the other fellow who went to school in Cuba, a fellow from Guyana, right? Next thing, the wildlife. I don't know if Jamal on the call, and I don't know if you remember this. We were in Catalito, right? And I remember us, but we heard this screaming, and we said, well, who's screaming so? Right? I ain't call your name, but two Bajan girls, we ran across the internet room, girls in the corner screaming, hug up one another screaming, what going on? They point to the corner, a big frog. Remember the frogs that was in Cuba? The big one that crawl like the water, they jump off on you.
Wait, was it here? Rat.
Huh? Exactly. But you know that the Bajans ain't touching that frog. We said, listen, what about stand our corner because we ain't touching it. You know, we went across, but you don't. And we went down, we offered help, we need somebody can't touch this frog. It was Maria from Dominica. Who said, I can't believe what I'm afraid for a frog. My girl can't cross there, where the frog is, take out the frog, she had a pelt over the balcony. Right? The Bajans not cussing and start things, man. What frog? That used to make me hear, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, next thing here,
I'm reading notes.
I give you my notes. Jamal talk about was getting robbed. I did get robbed. Cruel too in the bus in Havana. Whole wallet get carried away, boy. That's when you start banging at the bus wallet. You understand? Trophy. Bus had to stop me in Havana. My wallet gone. All my money gone. Cards gone. Everything gone. Right? And we had to stop from scratch. Lana, you were with us, right? You remember that?
Jamaica,
Yes,
you
boy.
just had the worst luck. You get robbed.
Listen,
You used to get robbed right
I
left
got
and
robbed a
center.
couple times, several times, right? Listen, it is great. Listen, and next one here, we talk about the hospitality of the Cubans, right? Wanted with hospitality too is very good with the Cubans, they get something to eat. You ain't want to eat it, but you have to eat it, you know.
You gotta eat it.
Right? Or what? Some dulce with rice, some rice dulce thing.
Yes. What?
Then the
Yes.
Chinese thing, they do the rice with sweet milk, with condensed milk.
Right, the sweet milk thing.
Arroz con leche, chicos.
Con leche,
Arroz
right?
con
Yeah.
leche.
Arroz
¿Qué te
con leche,
pasa?
right? And then the cheese. You have to get cheese, only cheese, thing, and you cannot.
No only cheese.
You
And it
disrespect the
crumbly. You
people,
cut it off and it
and it
crumbly.
crumbly. Right? You cannot disrespect the people and don't eat the things. So you try to swallow it and whatever. But again, that's the hospitality thing. It come by you as you land, right? You getting something to eat. I preparing something for you. You eat because they're gonna make sure you marry and you good. All right. Next one here too. The special basket and this be next to the toilets.
Oh, cheese on.
Special baskets. Dreadness. And then when they come out home, we doing the same thing in my mother basket and got my mother ready to pet me on the house. Right? Because it became so ingrained. When I tell people that, they don't believe me. They don't believe me. Tell people you can't put the toilet paper in anything, especially down the old pipes at the university and things. No, boy. Right? And then the last one I have here is if you go back, everybody said they would like to go back, right? If you go back to Cuba, how would you go about Cuba? How would you travel? Because for me, I keep saying that if I go back, I think I might revert to how I was as a student. I want to get up in the coach here. I get down and get the machina and my 20 years down to Havana, right? You understand? I think that I might go back to that old way of thinking, that life that we were so accustomed to, going the paladars in the houses, you know, and eat arroz con gris and you pull your saddle con ensalada de aguacate, y tomate, y pepe. Oh, have mercy. I see Jose get on by. Listen, that was the thing.
Pollo repiado.
You understand, right?
You know, if you eat a chicken, pull pork, pull horse.
Pull
anything.
Listen,
Yeah,
I know
man.
it has a pull horse a couple times. It wasn't beef, I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
Horse is
So I
good.
always say when I go back, I want to carry my family back. And I say when I go back, I want to give them the true Cuban experience, though. The true Cuban experience.
Yeah, but I want to do it with money, though. I want to do it with
Of
like,
course, they still got money. They still got
money.
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 Money. So I can do it every day, right? But I want to carry a coppelia and go and eat some coppelia.
Yes.
Right, you understand?
But the
because
thing about it is,
Oh,
we
yeah.
can do
Already hard,
because when we was
Yes,
there,
Raymond.
when we was
But,
there, we had the ability to do a lot of that Cuban stuff because we were still there as students because we had
us students, right?
So now that we going
Right.
back, we gonna be full tourists. So they might tell you can't go in Copelia.
Correct. And
Yeah,
not only
man,
that,
I
it
agree.
might charge us double.
But listen, what you speak is Spanish. We know the Spanish, you understand?
That's
And
right.
listen, Spanish outside of to any Spanish speaking person, they immediately know that I'm from Cuba. After they say about 2-3 words, they know that I live in Cuba. So we go back, we cut off our S's and we thought we live thing, they know we from
Oh
Cuba.
yeah, city.
Yeah.
You understand? Exactly. Right? But we go, I want to carry them on the Ciento 90, stop in line. Pull out your cut and elbows trying to get for the bus. Huh?
But Jamaica, you can't process how much I get for the bus is normal.
Nico, so what you said though, right? I want to know this is 2022, right?
Right.
And we have a car driving. I got something called a go bike in it.
Right.
I love that bike. It got a toothpaste, a toothbrush, a soap, a boxer. in my glove box, I got a pack of soda bits, and I
Standard
got a
traveler.
small peanut butter.
Standard
Always.
traveler.
I still moving the bike. I still moving. So that's what all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't got the boxer. But the other day, right, my wife pulled on my back seat in my truck. I said, "Where you got toilet paper in the back seat?" I said, "My girl, you never know when anything hit your boy."
Exactly.
You know, I was rolling with toilet paper in my back seat every single day.
Yeah.
And a plastic bag.
Yep. I can tell you that trip we went to, I think it was Jamaica Congress in Las Tunas, and
Yeah.
that we got lost because we got to Ciego, and obviously Las Tunas is like 4 hours away from there or something like that.
Right.
And I just remember, you know, bathroom stops. It was actually cleaner to use the bathroom in the outside rather than actual bathrooms.
Right, yeah.
So because of
Yeah,
that experience,
right.
I have a cup if I have to pee. I have a cup in my
Yeah.
car, you know. Don't I tie up?
Yeah.
Because I go, like, obviously in Barbados, I
Yeah.
can't just stop on the side of the road and go, right?
Right.
But like little things like that, like I got wipes in my dash, in my cubby hole.
I got wipes too. Yep,
Yo,
got wipes, man. You
Cuba
know
taught
what
me
I'm
a lot.
saying? Be prepared, man.
You want
Be
pepper
prepared.
I remember a time we
Before
was traveling.
COVID, we had what? Before COVID, had what in my vehicles, and that was like
In
standard.
vehicle. Yeah, boy.
I remember a time we was traveling by train. I think it was for one of the same independent celebrations, and we was in the train. This is the Cuban train, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I went and I looked inside the bathroom. Jamaica, don't laugh.
I remember this, Lana.
And I see a hole in the ground. I said I didn't
You
even
see
see
trash
that
moving
no
on the
more.
top.
I got it done with that. I come back
Listen,
to my seat.
Yeah.
listen.
A
I
hole
know
in
way
the
back.
ground and a
Yes.
pole to hold on to keep your balance.
Yep. I look at the
Listen.
train track. Lana, because I was on the train. I didn't remember you say you went. I said, Lana caught the bathroom very fast. She does so quick. Lana can't sit back down. Say everything went back up. Everything went back. It bought that hole in the room at all.
Hole in the ground. You could see the tracks passing and it through
You
the
see
hole.
trucks moving. And for
Listen,
them,
Oh.
every kind of
you
train,
made
it's a jump over the train track, boy.
I got one for you, right? In 2017, we had Trabins in Barbados. Trabins is a, I don't want to say international, but it's an international training, military training exercise that happens across the world every year. And this is the second or third time Barbados was hosting it, right? So we were at Paragon, we had the US, we had Marines, we had Air Force, whatever. We also had two contingents, one from Dominican Republic, and we had military from Mexico. So we were based, I was on the logistics team. So we were based, if you guys know the cadet camps, I got Paragon base. But everyone had to choose how you cheer this bathroom, right? And one day, I was doing some stuff, and I hear this guy scream out, "This is beer RH." Again, I'm like, nah, this ain't standard. What's going on here? Man says, sir, come look in the bathroom, come look in the bathroom. And they go in the bathroom. In the corner of the bathroom, there's this little mopped in the toilet paper, right?
Yep.
And they in 4 stalls, right? So
Right.
I see a Barbadian ain't know what the hell going on. So these men crying blue murder. And I remember the two contingent leaders, one was a colonel and one was a late colonel. So I went to the one from Dominica and it was like, Dominican Republic, I was like, well, sir, you know, we need Caribbean, we can flush toilet paper, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, that's my man. Can't be my men, it's gonna be Mexicans. So, okay, and gonna call me Mexicans. They said, well, you know, sir, no, we from the Caribbean, we can flush the toilet paper. No, my man, don't do that. We live in the real world. That gonna be Dominicans. I said, all right, that's gonna happen. I get everybody together. And I tell everybody, but listen, this is Barbados. And then I had to go back and talk to the Bajans and say, listen, these people live in a different country and they got different style and experience or things. And there was this massive debate of who will clean this thing. You know, Bajans ain't cleaning that. Right? Because funny enough, these guys were so happy how we approach the whole approach the situation. I wasn't scornful, I was understanding. And the two colonels get them teams from same Mexico and same Dominican Republic to go and clean bathrooms. And Frances then issues. But you see how knowledge of things and the approach is changing situations. And it's happening anything.
Yeah, and you help diffuse that situation because you know is they just culture. Because I know that the Cubans, they, even if there's no basket, they still put in the corner because that is what they're accustomed to.
That's
They
a
don't
norm.
flushing it, right? They don't flushing it, right?
Sure, for sure.
Interesting, man. Interesting.
I
But
am
great,
so
great.
happy. I am so happy that we had this conversation today. Jamaica, you want to say something else?
No. Just saying great stories all around.
Exactly.
You know, bring back nostalgia. Hearing Lana talk about Jones talk about certain things that I didn't remember.
Exactly.
You know, now talking about some things as well, and you know, it really brought back those memories, right?
And it's
Those
good
memories.
memories.
I can tell you there you know, up to today I was talking to somebody about one of my biggest regrets, and it was actually in Cuba when I got a tattoo in my back, my lower back, left back.
Yeah.
And I do not know how I found this tattoo artist. Not sure why, what, but whatever. I was clearly going
Well,
through
Jones, I was there with you when you got it.
You was there with me?
I was there with you.
I don't
My
forget
man.
everything.
And you hold me and holler blue murder.
Jamico, that's my biggest
yes.
regret because that
Yeah.
tattoo,
Uh-huh.
I had to get
Mhm.
lasered out of my skin
Yeah.
when I was living in the UK when I was doing my masters
Right.
because the guy didn't do it well. It was actually pretty ugly, and it's still pretty ugly. It was a seahorse with
Right. It was the seahorse you got.
and
I see the fella now, and it was the street right there near to my faculty as well.
yes,
Opposite near like Avant Libre.
yes, absolutely
Right.
yes.
Yes.
And when I look so I got it lasered up, but it's not completely gone because just by the way, anybody that has a tattoo that wants to get it lasered, that hurts like a lot.
Yeah.
And
Worse
I
than
still have remnants of it. And every time I look at it, I remember getting that done. And I also remember lying to my mom because I remember calling home and she said, I told her I got a tattoo, but I didn't get the tattoo yet. I was just testing the waters to see what her response was before I got it. I was like, I in Cuba, I can get this tattoo for 17 US. I'm like, oh my
Correct.
God, I can get this tattoo for 17 US. This Shafet, hold on 1 second. Hi, I'm coming downstairs now. Okay, good. Sorry, guys. And so anyway, so I remember saying to them, I remember paying $17 and before doing it, I said, let me ask my mom let me tell her that I get this tattoo, and based on her reaction, it will determine if I go and get this tattoo or not. And my mom did not freak out. I was like, oh, well, she ain't freak out. Let me go and get this tattoo. When the tattoo healed and everything, I realized what trash was on my back. Like, it wasn't done properly. I cried. I mean, Jamaica, I can't remember. I know I went with somebody, but I can't remember who I went with.
Yeah, I was there.
It
And
was
you hold me. Yeah, you bite me. Yeah. You had some choice words.
Yep.
Right? I remember that
Standard.
very, very clearly.
Duh.
I remember that clearly.
Like that experience taught me, like, first of all, I think I was like 19 or 20 at the time. I was like, listen to
we were
parents. My
teenagers.
parents always told me, going to tattoo your skin is a serious decision. You need to know what you're doing, choose wisely. I didn't. I just wanted to be rebellious. I just want to do it. And you know what? Like, my mother has passed, and every time I think of this tattoo, I remember, if my mother was alive now, she would be like, I told you so. Like, this makes no sense. Listen to your parents, though. Like, study yourself. Not because it's cheap, that it's good. You know what I mean? Anyway, Chevette delivery is outside, and I gotta go.
No problem.
So it's good to see you all.
Yes, definitely.
I get million photos.
Jason, send some pictures
Yes,
of
please.
you from back in
I
Cuba
can bring up to you.
so I can remember. Have a good day.
Thanks so much, Lana. Thanks so much for joining.
Sorry, Lana.
Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, guys.
All right, you too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. I guess it's time to end. In any case, I am going to take the opportunity to thank all of you all for joining. I think it was definitely a success in that having this discussion allowed us to definitely reminisce and also speak to the value of the actual scholarship on so many levels. Y'all spoke about helping us to find ourselves, helping us to develop money management skills, the importance of getting outside of Barbados and really seeing other cultures outside of our own, to give us not only an appreciation for those cultures, but an appreciation for our culture and what we have available to us. I think that is important because not many people have that opportunity. We have been through it personally, and we have seen the success that comes out of it. We see all the possibilities that have come out of these opportunities. And that is basically why I wanted to have the call, for people to understand that these students who studied in Cuba 20 years ago have accomplished so much because of the experience, and it has made us better. It has made us more appreciative. It has made us more able to manage life today, and that in itself is important. So I don't know if anybody else has any other last words before we end the call, because I know that it's getting late, and this one here does not want to leave me in peace anymore. So yeah, anyone wants to say anything?
I am quite open to doing this again. I would love if we could get like topics and discuss specifically, so we give people a better idea, a more focused idea of what we're talking about. But this was great. I don't want to think. I also want to say, Josette,
Yes.
please tell your other half, fellow Santiago, I say good night.
Okay, I'll do that.
And it was good to see you guys. Anytime I will make myself available for sure. Mali?
Yo.
And Mr. Raymond,
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I enjoyed that very much. I forgive me. You know, I didn't move it wrong. I doing laundry. That's why I doing laundry. Cause the woman on the computer doing something like that. So
But I believe everybody would have, based on their experience in Cuba, it would have led to a level of resilience. Because yes, I'm from Dominican, we would have experienced a lot of hurricanes and storms. But when the volcanic eruption hit us last year, yes, I did not really get ashfall, but water, no water for 5 days. That was me back in Cuba and having, well, actually, Ciego used to have water, but no water for 5 days and having to go to work. That was reminding me of Cuba and the resilience. And buying takeaway containers, sanitizing hands, COVID and volcanic ash together and all that. That was just Cuba prepared me for that.
True. Very true. Very true. All right, so you see him here, man. This was excellent, Lana. Very, very good initiative. And I hope that we can do this again. I would second Jason's recommendation in terms of next time we do it. Let's focus on we can focus on a particular topic. Be it, it could be independence, or where the independences and traveling to them and how they were, or tackling school, dealing with the language and the pregunta de entradas, which I also have implemented in my teachings when I teach at college, right? And they call me, they tell me like it's Hitler, right? The Beijing customer that, right? Right? But I mean, just talk about different various topics, and we could do this, say, I don't know, every month, every 2 months or so. I know all of us now are big, hard, working adults with families and stuff like that. We may not be able to do it every weekend. But once we plan ahead, give everyone ample time, we could prepare and come and do this session, man. Definitely.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Anyone else want to make any contribution, or we're good?
I have a question, Lana. You're going to share the recording with us when you're done?
Yes, I am going to actually work on getting this to all of you all, so that at least you all can do with it as you please. But forgive me, I am not technologically sound, so if I reach out to anybody, you will know why.
Yeah. No problem at all.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to us doing this again very soon, as Jason would have suggested. I think it's an awesome opportunity to let people see what we have achieved and what we have to say on specific topics. I think that is very relevant for sure. All right. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night. Good night.
Everyone.
Thanks, Josette.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, bye, Josette.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.